None of this conversation should be taken as medical advice for you. Before starting or changing any medical or wellness treatment, always consult your GP and medical care team.
Hello and welcome to The Dose. This time round, it's just me and a really special guest. So just going to introduce her. So Pilates has been a huge part of my movement journey, and one of the biggest reasons I stuck with it was because of my instructor, Emer. She made me feel so welcome from day one, even when I was still living in a larger body and felt unsure about stepping into any class. She has an incredible way of making Pilates accessible for everyone, and I know so many others feel the same way. Today I'm thrilled to have her here with me to share her insights, experience and passion for Pilates. Welcome, Emer.
Thanks, Belinda. How are you?
Oh, I'm good.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
We're trying to not sound so deflated because this has taken us ages to get this far. And this will be the one that will be going out on air. Yeah. How many times have we recorded it now?
I don't say. I don't say.
I'm not going to say either because it's actually
important one. This is the big
it's
one.
embarrassing. Yeah.
No, it's not.
So thanks for sticking with it though, Emer. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to let you tell me your story and a bit about your background in Pilates.
I started, I suppose it's coming up to about probably 8 years now I'm teaching Pilates. I am originally a secondary teacher and so I suppose I've always been teaching is how I like to look at it and instructing. But I took a career break when I had my kids and then I never went back. And then we moved from Cork and back down home here to Piltown, Kilkenny. And so I was got involved then with a running group, a local running group of women with a friend of mine. She asked me to help out and it just started from there. I then decided to train as a fitness instructor. I then decided to train as a running coach. And then while I was training as a fitness instructor, one of the modules was Pilates and I was so drawn to it. It was just, I was going, oh my God, not really sure what she's doing here, but I absolutely love it.
Have you practiced Pilates before, or was that kind of the first time that it came into your kind of...
I had done... That was the first time. So about over 10 years ago, I suppose, at this stage. Yeah, I, now that I think about it, I would have come across it, I suppose, in other classes, but I hadn't actually gone to a Pilates class. I had meant to, but I hadn't started.
Right.
I got to a few yoga classes. Yeah, running was my thing, really. And then as I was getting older, I kind of realised I needed something to...
strengthen,
support my running, to reduce the risk of injury. I trained as a running technique coach, and then it was just like this revelation when I was doing Pilates. I was just going, oh my God, I absolutely love this. You know
what? Yeah, I thought the exact same thing when I started.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that I hadn't found it, couldn't believe that I hadn't found it years ago and I hadn't been doing this my whole life, And
in a way, I'm glad I just started Pilates as a Pilates instructor, really, because it's all I know now is how I practice Pilates, and it is kind of more, I think, the classical Pilates exercises, because I know every Pilates instructor is different, and some are much more, maybe more aerobic and fast moving than my classes are, but coming from how I want my Pilates to be, or how my Pilates practice I want it to be, it is the original principles of Pilates, the concentration, the control, the flow, the breath, the precision.
Especially
the
slow
control movement. Yeah. Breath is and then I went on and trained as a breathwork coach after that, because the breath is it's just a game changer. It's so important. It's
Who did you train with for the breath?
So I'm an Oxygen Advanced instructor. I trained with Paddy Belindas. He's actually an Irishman, but it's a worldwide practice. Yeah, there's instructors all over the world.
Yeah.
So it's huge. And it just, he wrote a book connecting breathwork, Oxygen Advantage, to yoga. And I said to him, it's actually so connected to Pilates
as
because
well.
Pilates is all about, the lateral breathing and the diaphragmatic breath, whereas yoga is more focusing on the belly breath, whereas we focus on the whole 360. Yeah,
Expanding it,
so
yeah.
it's just meant to be put together,
Yeah, it really is, though, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you notice that when you're doing it and when you start out as well, the more you concentrate on your breath, the easier things kind of become for you. Yeah.
It has changed. Like it changes how people breathe who regularly come to the class. So like I incorporate my breath work into Pilates. More so with the men, or more so the sporty people who do the really heavy breathing, and that really kind of erratic and catching their breath. And I would see people who started my classes with this real, you can just sense their breath is so stressful, like just so stressed. And after a couple of months, it's just the difference. They are just breathing so calm and relaxed, and a lot of it is nasal breathing, and it's just really, going with the flow of the movements.
And it's so relaxing as well. When you're finished it, you get such a high but a calmness as well in your body. You always feel good at it. I mean, one of the reasons that I kept coming back to your class is because you made it feel so comfortable for me. So how do you go about creating that sense of including everybody, especially for people of different body types and then people of different age groups? Because that's hard as well, isn't it? Your class is very diverse.
Honestly, it's because I feel I empathize with people. I understand. Like as I said, I was a secondary teacher. I came into this world and I felt like an imposter for a long time.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like I came in training and like into this whole world, and it's not who some people, they always want to be in the fitness business. I was a sporty person, but I put on weight when I was in college, and I struggle. I don't struggle with my weight, but I would be prone to putting on weight. So
you look after it.
I feel I get it, and I feel I understand why someone would be really intimidated coming into a class, why you'd be really nervous. Of course, but it's really hard. It's really hard starting something new. Even if you come with friends, like it's easier with friends, but people come on their own.
It's tough.
And, so I really understand. So it's really, really important for me that people are comfortable. And I say to them, I know your first class now, you're nervous, but I really hope that, after this hour, you will just walk out and you'll go, oh, okay, I really enjoyed that. And that's the most important thing for your first class, that you come in, doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
But the way you went, oh, that made me feel better about myself, and that made me feel good. Do you know what I mean?
And I think with people coming into a Pilates class, especially your Pilates class, my experience of that was coming into the class. I think I came on my own, Emer, actually, first few times I came, and I was in a much larger body then, and I just thought to myself, well, I can't do aerobics. I had a bad back at the time. I can't do aerobics, can't be jumping up and down and all the rest of it. And then I went into the class, and as I was trying to do the moves, I literally only did what I could do, but I would look around while I was doing things, and not one person is raising their heads. Some people have their eyes closed for most of it, and literally nobody cares what anyone else is doing, because you're paying your money to go in there and do your exercises, and my exercise is completely different to every other person in that room, because every other person is at different levels of fitness, different levels of Pilates, and nobody cares. No one's looking at you. That's how I felt. Yeah,
and that's the world I want to create in my classes.
I
just want you to come in, and I know we have the banter and the chat and the crack as well. In
the mornings we do.
And that's important too. Yeah, So like, you don't want to walk into an environment where people are going, "Oh my God, look at you one in the bra top or in the," in the
and that's
leggings,
not there.
the
That's not
latest
there.
whatever gear, and and you can do that too, and it's great. You know what I mean? I love buying. I have a ridiculous number of leggings, so I mean,
Yes.
a bit obsessed, but yeah, it's really important because I suppose as well, again, one of the main principles of Pilates is concentration and focus and precision. So you have to kind of be mindful. You have to pay attention
Yeah.
because that's literally what each exercise, you have to concentrate on every single thing you're doing, and that's not in
Yeah.
a stressful way. It's in a really
Let's
good
see, can I
mindful
do
way.
this? Yeah.
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 So you are, I mean, of course, the mind will wander, of course, especially if you're used to doing the exercises. But the goal is that you come in and you are aware, and it's mind and the body as well, because I don't want you, I mean, I know I go on and on about that. You shouldn't be doing core work and you're getting a pain in your neck. Like, literally, what's the point of that? If you put too much of a load and, your head starts falling back, like, you need to pause out. Or you shouldn't be doing core work and your lower back feels sore, then you need to pull it back and you need to adapt, you need to change. So you have to be in tune. It makes you so much more body aware, which is so
Yeah.
important for us, to be aware of our bodies moving through space and how
Yeah.
we
Well, I would have
yeah,
come to you at, I think, a point after I had my operation. I think I came to you.
yeah. You
Yeah, I
would have,
think
I
it
think.
was.
I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't know that at the time, yeah, but going
Yeah,
back,
I had told you then, I think,
years.
about a month later, but I had a microdiscectomy on my lower back, and it was only after that I realised how low functioning my core was, how it should have stood to me better in my period of recuperation. And I knew after it I would have to have another operation on my back. So I thought to myself, get your Pilates in and tighten up your core. And inevitably that will make my recovery half the time, possibly. And it will make my time so much easier as well, going forward. But that's
And
the
also
thing
your
when...
mobility as well, like your
That's it.
spinal, the stiffness in the spine, so to mobilize as well, it's not even just about building up core strength, it's about stabilizing the pelvis and the spine and being aware, of how everything is shifting and moving, and how to stabilize yourself is actually really important. And to mobilize,
As you
So
said,
yeah,
how you
core back
move
recovery,
through
yeah,
your day. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%, yeah.
And the thing with Pilates is as well, I think, in your class, is that if there is somebody that has some kind of injury or they're working on something, then you modify every single movement for that individual person. And I think that's really important as well. And every
Yeah,
Pilates
that should be
class
done in any
instructor should
sport.
do
That should be
that.
done in everything. Yeah, that should be
Yeah.
done in all fitness classes. You shouldn't go into
Yeah.
the gym and go lifting weights that are too heavy, or do, like, let's say, pull downs when, you have issues with your neck, so Pilates is no different. I suppose just the focus is on rehabilitation. People come to Pilates for, issues.
I mentioned as well just about how it was so important to me. My practice in Pilates over the past 3 years was so important to me in December of last year, because I went to a gym for the first time, tailor-made coaching, and in the gym it's just 6 people. There's only ever 6 people there.
Yeah.
My 3 years in Pilates stood to me so much when I went in there, because I was able to focus and engage my core and be so aware of my breathing as well in there, which I never had any of that when I had been at a gym before. And I think that's probably why I never kept going back to a gym. But this time round, it was very different. So I was very aware of my body, very aware of what I needed to do, and very aware of my breathing. So
And
it
I
does
can
help.
see it now in your Pilates class. I can see you now in Pilates, that
Notice that
you're
I've
more
been to the gym.
confident and you're stronger. So that's the positive overlap with the two together.
Yeah, it's
and when you
brilliant.
go to the gym, to have that foundation. And I suppose Pilates is such a good foundation for anything else you want to do. Even for running, like Pilates is a fantastic, complement for runners, or for gym goers, or for swimmers, or
Swimmers in particular as
or
well. Yeah.
lifting weights. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like a foundation course,
Yeah.
you know.
And
Yeah.
would you say that there's any particular benefit then for women who are in like midlife, especially those navigating like hormonal changes and things like that?
Yeah. Like me, you mean?
And me and everyone else that
Uh,
listens to me on Instagram and
yeah.
podcasts. Yeah.
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 It's massive. It's huge because sometimes women have just allowed, I suppose, life pass them by, and their kids and life is so busy, and they actually haven't, and then all of a sudden there's all this stuff going on, and you're going, why have I got all these aches and pains, and why do I feel my energy is so low, and why do I feel, so down on myself?
And
Then
lethargic.
it's so hard to say, oh, I'm going to go down to that local Pilates class. Like it's really hard to do it. Hence, I try to be really welcoming when people either contact message me. I'll always reply and always, give people as much time as they need, because I get it. Like I
It's
get that
hard.
feeling. I'd be really intimidated, if I went to a class myself. So it is so important for women to, start focusing on their bodies and to, future-proof
Strengthen.
themselves. And
It's about longevity
that
as well,
thinking
Emer,
that,
isn't it?
yeah,
And it's
huge.
about strengthening ourselves for like 30 years' time, that we're able, or whatever it is, that we're able to go up the stairs and we're able to come down the stairs and we're able to get up out of a chair.
And that's why I incorporate things that I suppose aren't really Pilates. That's why I incorporate all those extra little bits in my classes. Like, we sit down on the ground and we try, reducing the use of our arms, or just more
Yeah.
awareness of our joints and our feet. Our feet are obviously the foundations of our bodies. They're our support system. Waking up our feet is so important because they're all, stuck
And
inside
your
in shoes.
joints.
And so I work on just mobilizing your feet and your ankles and your knees and your hips, so that yeah, you can prevent yourself. Things can obviously still happen, but it's just being, again, it comes back to body awareness, really, isn't it? Yeah, that you're more aware of
Absolutely.
stabilizing
Yeah.
and balancing. That's why we practice our single leg, closing the eyes and
Yeah, yeah.
touching our
And
nose. And
do you know as well though, I don't think I've ever been anywhere, and I've been in and out of a lot of exercise classes in my life, but no exercise classes or anything like that has ever focused on the feet or the joints in the ankles or the joints in the wrists
wrist,
or anything like
yeah.
that. And it's needed.
Yeah, and I suppose that comes from my running technique training as well, because I've done courses on biomechanics and mobility and
Oh,
movement.
okay.
And, that would be one of the main things we would have learned. The whole body moves you.
Yeah.
It's not just you don't just run with your legs, you run with your arms and you run with your core and you run, so it's whole body movement.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
you have to
why
incorporate the whole body.
yeah, and
Yeah.
you would go to a different Pilates class and the focus would be we tend to, we gear towards whatever we are trained in or whatever our, I suppose, personal interests are. So that really, I looked after my dad when he was unwell, and when his mobility went, and he used to say to me, he was such an active man, he used to ride horses up to, well into his 70s, and he goes, like, of all things happened to me, I never saw this coming.
Yeah.
And and like I used to work with him moving, walking and standing up and using the feet. And that really struck a chord with me. So now, yeah, and it
You're
is just
future
really,
proof in your own body.
yeah, yeah.
Essentially,
And
that's what we're all there for, isn't it?
yeah,
And I
hopefully, yeah.
think especially for women and our age, I think it's really, really important.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
100%. And Emer, we just might like touch on, say, people after a weight loss. Say I've lost just over 6 stone now. How important do you think that Pilates would be, or that form of exercise would be, to help somebody that's been through that? How does it support progress is what I'm asking, I suppose.
What, like, as we touched on earlier, I think it's a really good foundation. It's a really good get yourself out the door and to introduce yourself into the world of fitness, because as you have spoken about so much, you have to put the two together. And, you have to, when you're on this journey, you have to balance, you have to introduce fitness and exercise, because that's how you are living your life going forward. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
just about the medication you're on. It's
Yeah.
about your whole holistic view, isn't it? So, uh, I think, like as I said, yeah, it works from the inside out. So like Pilates works on, your core. Like
You're,
you mightn't see it on the outside because, like, will you lose weight in Pilates? Not particularly. You won't lose weight. It's not cardio. So you need that element as well in your life, like walking, whatever else you want to do, swimming, or aquarobics or, all these
yeah.
other things I know you do. But it's just massive to the effect it has and the power you can feel in your body. And it's gradual progress, and you have to just accept that, as you say, you will see the progress in the most subtle things, like even being on all fours, simple
Doing a
things.
side plank.
Do the side plank, but you all think,
Yeah.
no way is it hip lifting off the ground. But like, it's the strength in your, in the wrists and the shoulders, and it'll just creep up in you, and you just go, oh my God, the amount of times people say to me, or come back after class and go, I was not able to do that 2 months ago. I
I
can't
say that all the
believe.
time about things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and look at what we do in Pilates. It's slow, controlled, minute
Yeah.
movements, and they're,
But
but it builds you
that
from the
was,
inside out. Yeah. So I
yeah,
would
and
say that
that was what
people
sorry, I keep talking
losing
over you.
weight. Yeah.
So
Yeah. That
that's
it's
what,
just, there's loads going on. There's loads going on. You mightn't
yeah,
necessarily see it the same way you would with, say, the cardio aspect of your fitness, and it kind of tightens you from the inside out, if that makes sense,
yeah, and it does.
Yeah, and it narrows you, or it draws your body in, it definitely does. And it's hard to explain that,
Yeah.
because I noticed that about myself when I first started Pilates. I was going, like, I'm not doing anything different yet. I felt like I was and I'd be quite broad person naturally, but I just find I was gone so much more kind of narrower, and it's
Yeah.
hard to
But
explain,
then,
but it was
but the
definitely
thing is as
Pilates.
well, when you start working on breath, you automatically start working on posture as well. And that just kind
Yes,
of
yes,
happens
yes.
automatically.
You've actually hit the nail on the head. That's what I was struggling to say there. It's your posture.
Yeah.
Very important for
Yeah,
Pilates.
it
Yeah.
really is.
You're kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
lengthened,
Yeah.
your movement, you're more graceful in your movement. You carry yourself so much better,
Yeah.
you
Because
know,
you start to feel better about
unbeknownst to
yourself.
yourself. Yeah.
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 And
So it's like it's
see,
built on.
the other thing that I wanted to say as well is that when I started out on this weight loss journey with my GLP1 medication,
Yeah.
I think, looking back now, I think Pilates was probably the best course that I took for myself when I started out in trying to get fitter and incorporate exercise with the weight loss journey as well. And as I was going along then, I kind of realised that the two, they won't work on their own. Do you know what I mean? Like you can
Yeah.
go on the journey of weight loss, but if you incorporate, like you were just saying, Pilates or aqua aerobics in it, that's when the magic happens, because
Yeah.
you're strengthening your body from the inside as well as the outside. You know,
And you're not going to, and I think also a massive element must be adapting to your new shape, because, you must, look in the mirror going, if
oh
it
my
happens
God,
quite quickly, and even if it doesn't, it's just, you're looking at a different person, I'm sure, and you
yeah.
have to. So I think that's why the mind-body connection is really important, and for it to happen slowly, and, so again, that's why Pilates, it does give much better body awareness, and to kind of build up your confidence in, and be content
100%.
in helping yourself. Yeah, because
Yeah.
like you can lose weight, but if you're not going to add any other element to it, you're probably still not going to feel great.
Yeah, and
You
you know
look
what?
different, but you mightn't feel different, and your brain can't catch up with what's after happening. So whereas at least if you're doing some form of exercise, it'll just all come together,
And
hopefully.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's body image. And I think Paddy spoke about
Yeah.
this recently as well, is
Yeah.
that I think when I was just losing the weight and I wasn't doing anything, I never really noticed much of a difference in my body image looking in the mirror. I couldn't stand there and say, oh, look, you look great or whatever. But then when I started really getting into Pilates and
Yeah.
feeling stronger, then I felt stronger. And then my mindset shifted as well.
Yeah, a
So
bit more
it really,
confidence in yourself,
yeah,
because you are being
working.
proactive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
And probably
exactly.
easier to stay the course as well and to keep your motivation. And it's just good for your mental health. It's good
Yeah.
for your head. Like exercise is good for us, it
Mm.
releases, and it's good for us.
Yeah. And
You
we
know,
always
you
feel
go,
great coming out of a class. It doesn't matter how
yeah,
shit of a
yeah,
morning you had or a week or whatever.
yeah.
It
You
always
won't
really
regret
helps.
it. Yeah,
No,
I think you would rarely regret giving an
doing,
hour to doing exercise, whether it is Pilates, whatever, as opposed to continuing feeling the way you're feeling if you are waking up and you're having a bad day. And sometimes you can't motivate yourself to do it, and that's okay too. You don't want to be hard on yourself and saying, oh, it's so easy to get out to class, because it's not. It's
no.
not. And, but you won't regret it if you
But
do get there.
the
Yeah.
thing is as well, like I don't miss it even if I'm having a shit day or really don't want to go. I don't miss it because even if I go down, sometimes I go in there and just, what's Etna say, go through the motions.
She's so funny.
Yeah,
No, but she's some
I
woman
just
to go
go,
through the motions, isn't she?
yeah,
She's
yeah.
some woman.
Yeah,
Like
but
she's
yeah,
still
even if
there.
you go down there, you can take it as easy as you like. No, like if I'm down at the back of the class and I'm not doing much, you're not going to come over to me and say, "Well, come on now, why aren't you doing this?" You
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Well, funnily enough, I suppose Pilates can look quite effortless, you see. So it's actually quite. I often say that. I'd be saying to you, like,
Yeah,
don't be
this will
fooled
be
that
easy.
even if I'm making this look easy, like on the inside, on the inside I'm crying a little bit on the inside, or it's like the duck in the pond, like one woman said to me, oh,
So
did you do
serene.
ballet when you were young? And I was going, no, I always wanted to do ballet actually. So maybe that's where that all came from, but I
Yeah,
was going, don't be fooled, because, I'd be like, going,
it's
oh my
underneath all
God.
the surface.
Yeah, all the work is going on, like, so but no, I agree with you. But then you're, again, first of all, you're not going to do that every week. You're not going to go every week and just lie in the mat and doss off. Why are you paying for the class? And then secondly, there's still loads of benefits, because you are still mobilizing,
And
improving your
breathing.
flexibility, focusing on your breath, being
Yeah.
mindful, so, and
And
yeah, so
and
you're
what
still
would you
getting a
say
lot
to
out of it.
what would you say to people then that think to themselves, "Oh God, I'm not strong enough to go in there now. I'm not like strong enough to do Pilates." What advice would you give to them?
Well, you're only going to you're going to improve by coming to class, and it'll happen gradually. You don't need to be like, well, what's strong? It's all relative, Um, you don't need to be strong starting off, because as I say to anyone before you come to my class, you come and, less is actually more. I much prefer to see people concentrating on what they're doing and doing a few reps, as opposed to doing movements and they're losing control of their posture, they're losing control, they're possibly getting a pain in their neck. But we have that, don't we, as kind of, you have to keep going, like 10 more
Yeah,
push-ups, and it's very hard to shake that mentality off, or have that perception of that's what sport exercise is,
yeah.
so less can be more. So if you don't feel you're strong enough, well, then come. And I would say nearly everyone would surprise themselves when they come
I
to
think
a
so.
class.
I think so
Usually
too.
all of
Yeah,
them are in
yeah,
it,
yeah,
because people would come to me with a lot of issues, with whether it's an injury or it's some health condition. So,
yeah. And
so
how many
if it
classes a
suits
week
the
do you
person,
do?
so I do 9 at the moment. Yeah, so
Wow,
I have
do
9
you?
classes now. Yeah,
All right.
so
Okay. So is
it,
that 9 down
and
in down where we are?
no, well, one is in Kildalton College. I do a lunchtime one, and
All right.
yeah,
Is that
I
for
used to do
the
the
people
online
that
one, but
work down there in
the
Kil?
staff. Yeah, I did it with the students as well.
Oh wow! I didn't realise
Drag
that.
them around, but they did still
That's
did
a
it.
lot. 9, isn't it?
Yeah, and the irony is, Belinda, that I was told, like, I've been told that I've fibromyalgia. 2 different consultants have told me I've
Have
fibromyalgia,
you?
and I was only told last year by a pain management consultant and a neurosurgeon that I should give up my
What?
job and stop running, and I should, what are you doing? And, you need to be resting. And oh God, this sounds really bad now, because I really don't like criticizing people. It's not that I want to make a big thing about that, but like, I did state my case, and I did say, honestly, like, if I was to stop doing what I was doing, I would absolutely seize up. I would,
Oh
like,
yeah,
I have to keep
100%.
moving. No, I have to listen to my body, and I have to, you know, Like that's why I do a lot of, I demonstrate, I walk around, I'm not doing the whole class. Like, well, you're not, I shouldn't be anyway, but yeah, so I'm a very good example.
Of,
I'm a
yeah,
very
not,
good example of,
well, that's about not
that you
sitting
can do
under
more than
it.
you can. Yeah, yeah,
Goodness.
yeah. So there
And
you
do
go.
you
Yeah.
feel that you're managing your fibromyalgia much better because you're keeping more active?
Well, I know other people with it,
So do
and
I. I know loads of people
yeah,
with it. Yeah.
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 So, and it's also unfortunately a very vague, it's a very vague
Diagnosis.
diagnosis when you can't really get to the crux of what it actually is, or what's actually going on. So, like,
And Emer,
yeah,
I can guarantee you there'll be hundreds of people listening to this that will be
yeah,
able to say that, oh, I have the same thing,
yeah. And I have
Yeah.
people who come to my classes with fibromyalgia, and I have people who, and I would always say, well, little known fact, I have fibromyalgia myself, or I've been. And
Diagnosed.
I feel I'm making light of it when I say I have been told I have fibromyalgia, because I literally, in the medical world, I'd have a consultant who would kind of laugh at, not, that's unfair, and I wouldn't laugh at the idea of you have fibromyalgia. They go, well, that's kind of a diagnosis they give you when we don't really know what else is going on. So like
Yeah.
I went to a neurosurgeon and I got all MRIs, and I do have issues in my neck from a car crash. I think I was in my 20s. But like I did all these nerve tests, and he just came back and said, I think maybe we need to look back on the fibromyalgia diagnosis. And I'm going, really? Um,
Gosh.
yeah,
That's not
so
something you
I
wanted to
said to him,
hear
and I would
either.
like he would have said, like, running, and and I mean, I do pull back. I do listen to my body more now, and I do, you know, like there are certain things I would say I would struggle to demonstrate. Do you know what I mean? And that's just because of that kind of muscle weakness and that I would have, or
Yeah.
muscle tightness. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it if I didn't do it, where would I be?
You'd
I
be
would
in a
imagine
chair,
sitting at
seizing up
home.
in the corner,
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
move. So I would say to anyone with fibromyalgia, and again, this is like you just often we can do more than we think. It's not that you should push beyond what is manageable, but I think it's taking the fear away. Don't be afraid to move. Or don't say, well, I've this, and we kind of tend to live by a diagnosis and saying, well, I have this, I can't
And I
do
can't
this.
possibly.
But,
Yeah.
but you can do it adapted, though. You can do a
Yeah.
modified version. You can do a
And
simpler version.
yeah.
Yeah,
And you're
and
so good
start
at that in your class.
gradually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're so good at
start
modifying
slowly.
everything. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what people need as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
and it's not to be afraid to exercise, because the other alternative is so much worse. Like
worse.
to stay lying in bed, and like even just like I said, even those foot warm up things I would do, the scrunch and release or the mobilize your shoulders, like do them on the edge of the bed, or before you actually get up, do something rather than standing up and trying to walk and you're like a poker,
Yeah.
so
Because
learning
originally
these things.
Pilates was that's what it was made for, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Tell us
that
about
I mean,
that.
I suppose I get asked the question a lot, what's the difference between yoga and Pilates? First of all, I wouldn't be an expert in yoga anyway, but I do know like that's an ancient, like yoga's an ancient practice, it's a spiritual practice where you hold poses for long times, and it's meditation and that aspect of it. Whereas Pilates is only around just over like 100 years, it's like in the early 20th century. It was created by Joseph Pilates for rehabbing soldiers, who were in hospital like during the First World War.
Yeah.
So, and he had a lot of health issues himself, and he decided, I'm going to do this to make myself stronger. So that's why he created all these specific exercises. And then he moved to New York, and he worked with, I suppose, the other end of the spectrum. He worked with athletes and dancers and, ballet dancers, and, and he worked with them to improve their, range of
When
motion.
was that? How long is Pilates
That's
around?
that's like, yeah, in the early 19, so like it's like First World War 19, I think he moved to New York in 1925 or something. Now I
Right,
could be
okay.
slightly off on that, but like it's that long, yeah, like it's
Wow.
100 years, Yeah,
Brilliant. And there
crazy.
are quite a lot of misconceptions, isn't there? I mean, we've probably debunked most of them in this chat here, but I think one of the main ones is that Pilates is only for women.
which is ironic because it was created for men.
On the back of
Yeah, it
that,
was
yeah,
created for men by a man. Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's got a bit more like sports Pilates. Like I did a sports Pilates course, Pilates for runners as well. And
But you
I
have a
think in
class
the
specifically
I
for
have a
men.
specifically men's only class, yeah, because and those guys when we usually stop over the summer, because a lot of them will be farmers or they'd be, working outdoors and, or they'd be cycling and they go cycling for the summer then, as well.
Yeah,
And so um they wouldn't come to my mixed class, and but they will come to my men's only class, which I
yeah,
always thought more the women were like that, but no.
yeah.
And yeah, it's we are women tend to be way more flexible than men, and that's
Anyway,
generalizing, like, because I mean, a lot of men are extremely flexible and mobile, but in general, men get much, they would have much tighter muscles and be more injury prone, yeah, than women. So
yeah.
it's
And
vital, yeah.
yeah, but again, just going back to the start of my journey as well, say from when I did join you 3 years ago, like there are things that I can do now that I would never have thought in my wildest dreams. Like never, ever, and like I know it's hard to kind of think about that when you are just starting out, but you do get progressively stronger, you do get progressively more flexible, and you do become better at your breathing, which then helps you move better, doesn't it, Emer, when you're breathing properly?
Well, yeah, if you breathe functionally, it helps you to move functionally. If your breath is really upper chest and short and fast and, irregular, and I mean, that's a stressful breath. That's a stressed out person. So you can control, like, believe it or not, you can control your breathing by slowing down the exhale and getting it in a rhythm, and I'm always talking about that, that rhythmical breath. If we can just breathe calmly, rhythmically, you will breathe more efficiently and even more relaxed and, breathing really gently, not hyperventilating,
Yeah.
so that really easy, relaxed, gentle breath,
And that's and
so it's
that's
not
what
all this big.
makes yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what makes Pilates so stressless. And it's just such a good exercise to do, and it really is one of the best ones that you can start out on as well, because it doesn't have any restrictions on what size body you're living in or what age you are. Emer, isn't that
Yeah,
right?
100%. Yeah. And it's
Yeah,
just to
yeah.
be, yeah, to just
Just
do, and but the key is to do what you can do,
yeah.
and we just live in that world, don't we, where we strive on perfection
For
and
yeah, whatever
self-criticism,
everybody
and
else is
yeah, we're
doing.
supposed
Yeah,
to be, yeah, and we all do, myself included, we all do that, like,
yeah,
but at least when you're going in there, it's not, I suppose, going to be into Pilates class. It's not going to be cardio, massive high intensity, which could scare the bejesus out of,
yeah,
so
yeah.
many people, at least. And it should be about control. And if you're being pushed beyond, what you feel you can do for the first couple of classes, you just shouldn't do it.
Do
I
it.
think you just need to own it yourself. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it'll happen gradually
and
and
naturally,
naturally.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And I tell you, it's the best thing that I've done for my journey in these 3 years. It really is. So thanks for
Well,
that,
for you,
Emer.
I'd say it's just been such a, because to see you now, like, it's such a stepping stone. It was such a stepping stone for you, I think, just to, when I think of you coming and you're to my classes and you were so worried about your back and you were so
Yeah.
worried about what you could do.
And I never needed to be, because you were there all the time watching every single
Well, and
move.
you progressed yourself. You just, when you
Yeah.
were ready to add things in,
And
you
try
give
new
it a go. It
things.
doesn't mean, yeah, I hope I'm not giving the impression like you can come and do, it doesn't mean you don't push yourself. It doesn't mean, because otherwise, why would you go to a class? But
Yeah.
you listen to your body, and of course you can push yourself. And it is about being a little bit uncomfortable, comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
No one
And you
wants to be
learn.
holding a plank. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's
Yeah.
5 seconds.
Of course.
So, but sometimes you can do it more than you think, and you can modify it. You can put your knees on the ground, you can pause out, you can rest
Yeah.
out, you can,
Yeah.
yeah. relax.
I think one of the biggest things for me is being able to get up off of the ground without using my hands. And also I started out doing I'm in a 5 or 6 second plank, and I can go well over a minute now, you know, and it's fantastic. I never thought I'd be able to do it. So I'm just delighted with it.
And you look like it's your posture and your alignment and everything is so perfectly aligned.
But that's everything, isn't it?
And again, I know I am slow to massively correct that and start, and I could be criticised for that as a Pilates instructor, because I know some people probably come to my Pilates and go, oh God, she didn't pull and drag at me enough, like, you know, and again, I think that comes to my personality. I can't do that when someone comes to my class first and I'll just go over and invade their personal space and start pulling at a foot or lifting a hip, and I know most Pilates instructors will probably do that. I just think, you know, I'd watch what you're doing, and once you're not injuring yourself, and once you are in like a reasonably good position, I might suggest a couple of changes, but you know, it will happen. You will naturally align yourself, but it's not to feel that pressure,
Exactly, exactly. And there is none. There's no pressure. You know, there really isn't. Emer, tell everybody where they can find you on Facebook.
So it's Fitness with Emer, Emer. I unfortunately one of those names that can be spelled.
And what about your Instagram handle?
Fitness with Emer. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook.
Facebook is the same as well.
I'm on, and fitnesswithemir@gmail.com is my email. I did have a website, but I actually closed it down. I had a beautiful website that I created during lockdown, fabulous. And then I actually closed it down because I found because I'm a breathing coach at Optimum Vantage, I'm on their website and I'm involved with the Wellness Tribe.
So you didn't feel you needed it?
Yeah, I just felt it was just kind of sitting there, and I wasn't doing my online Pilates classes anymore. So just keeping it local, you know.
Yeah, and it's really local for me. I'm so delighted. Emer, thanks ever so much for coming on and telling everybody about Pilates. I think everybody needs to know about it, and I think the biggest thing is just to go and try it. You won't regret it. Thanks, Emer.
So much for having me on, and well done you.
None of this conversation should be taken as medical advice for you. Before starting or changing any medical or wellness treatment, always consult your GP and medical care team.